The following video has some content that viewers might find disturbing. In today's video, you'll meet people who in some form or another shocked the planet. Ever heard of a 7-year-old surgeon perform a surgery on an 8-year-old? No? Well then stick around and prepare to get your mind blown. Who's the most unusual person that you've ever met? Well, let us know down below in the comments. I've also noticed that most of you watching this aren't subscribed yet, so if you do like the video, please consider hitting that subscribe button. It's absolutely free and you can always change your mind later. And with that said, enjoy the video. Number 10. John Quinn. John Quinn, or Johnny to his friends, is a true symbol of the human will to survive. He made headlines in 2003 after surviving a fire that burned 95% of his body. John and his sister Joanna were playing in a makeshift hayloft in their goat shed. Because it was dark, 7-year-old Joanna decided to use candles as their source of light. While playing, she didn't notice that a candle fell and set the loft on fire. She did try to get some water from their pool to extinguish said fire, but it wasn't enough. She then ran back into their home and told their babysitter Leah that Johnny is in the fire. Leah then rushed out and, hearing Johnny's screams, went into the burning shed to save the little boy. She had to make several attempts to drag Johnny out of the burning building, and she sustained third-degree burns for her trouble. Johnny, though, got the worst of it. He was airlifted to the hospital and was found to sustain 3rd and 4th degree burns on 95% of his body. The 5% that wasn't burned was his lower abdomen and upper thighs, which were then used by the doctors to harvest the skin graft needed to save his life. Number 9. Jasmine Tridevil. While having an extra limb is uncommon, it's not unheard of in people. What makes our story strange is the girl that paid $20,000 to have an extra body part, a third breast of all things. Her name is Jasmine Tridevil. Tridevil works as a massage therapist and stayed for almost 2 years for her breast implant. She also paid for a film crew to follow her and document the entire process of her getting her third breast. She mentioned in a radio interview that she approached several doctors before finding the one to do the job. I don't know about you, but I found it surprising that she found a surgeon to do it at all. Anyway, weird stories aside, apparently the third breast feels just like her other breasts except for a tattooed nipple. Her dream was to have her documentary shown on MTV, which seems pretty fitting nowadays. She also said that the implant was done not for gaining fame and fortune, but to make herself unattractive to men and avoid dating. Currently, she's amassed 10,000 subscribers to her YouTube channel, but, God, that is just weird. Number 8. Yoshiro Nakamatsu. Before the food photography trend became a social media norm, Dr. Yoshiro Nakamatsu, more popularly known as Dr. Nakamatsu, was already taking snapshots of all of his meals for the past 4 decades. By the way, he's also a prolific inventor with 3,572 patents to his name. What makes this man unique, though, is his nutrition research, which includes photographs of his meals for the past 40 or so years. The conclusion of the research made quite a buzz, as he said that one should only eat 1 meal a day and have a maximum of 4 hours of sleep. He was presented an IG Nobel Prize in 2005 for his research. Aside from these controversial conclusions, Dr. Nakamatsu is quite a local celebrity as well. He often appears on Japanese television showcasing his inventions, and he was also featured in several Western shows and documentaries like Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, Late Night with David Letterman, CNN's Make, Create, Innovate, just to name a few there. Number 7. Sawney Bean. When you hear the word cannibal, we often think about Wrong Turn or their other famous movies like The Hills Have Eyes. Well, these movies were probably inspired by the legend of Sawney Bean. Alexander Sawney Bean once terrorized Scotland in the 16th century. He and his clan were said to have murdered and, get this part, 1,000 people in 25 years. Just like in the movie, Sawney and his crew loved to ambush their prey, especially at night. Then they would take the bodies into their cave where they would butcher them and pickle the leftovers in barrels. The disappearances didn't go unnoticed, but the locals never suspected the Beans at all. The clan would then dispose of the remains on the beach, so locals would assume the disappearances were due to animal attacks. The family finally met their end when they decided to attack a couple on their way to a fair. The woman sadly was killed, but the husband valiantly fought against the Beans. Before they overpowered the man, a large group of fairgoers arrived and the family fled. There were several versions of the accounts of the Bean family's demise, but the most popular one was that they were taken in jail and were promptly executed sans trial. Number 6. Margaret Howe Lovett and Peter the Dolphin. You think interspecies love is impossible? Get a load of this story. Also, don't try this at home. Or ever. As a young girl, Margaret Howe Lovett read the book titled Miss Kelly, and it left a deep impression on her. It sparked her passion to teach animals human language. Back over in 1964, when NASA built a dolphinarium intending to teach the dolphins human speech, Margaret was assigned to train the marine mammals, one of which was an adolescent named Peter. Much like humans experiencing the throes of adolescence, Peter experienced frequent, sexual urges. He expressed this by rubbing himself on Margaret. Now, just remember here, YouTube, we are an educational channel, so this isn't dirty, this is educational. Now, how to put this next part? Margaret got tired of taking him over to the female dolphin's tank, so decided to cut out the middleman and decided to just, relieve the man dolphin himself. Educational. An article in Hustler magazine sensationalized the situation. Also, coupled with the financial setbacks experienced by the research group, the dolphins were transferred to a facility over in Miami. With the poor conditions of the facility, Peter's health quickly deteriorated and he passed away. For dolphins, breathing is a conscious effort, and if they're stressed, they will willingly sink to the bottom, refusing to breathe. Some speculate that Peter missed Margaret, and that's why he was depressed. Well, whatever the reason for Peter's death, their story is definitely one for the books, just not public school books, of course. Number 5. Ty Nagok. As a lot of you probably already know, lack of sleep makes us feel irritable and out of focus, so pretty much most of us feel this at this point. This wasn't the case for a man from Vietnam named Ty Nagok, a man who claims that he has not slept since 1973. According to him, his sleeplessness was caused by a fever. Doctors are baffled by his bizarre condition and want to do further tests. Ty, on the other hand, though, refuses to leave his village. He has a normal diet and rarely gets sick. He's still mentally sound and doesn't feel tired. At night, he guards his farm and divides it into different plots. He also built fish ponds using only moonlight as his light source and sometimes a kerosene lamp as well. In one newspaper interview, he can be quoted telling the reporter that he said that there's nothing to do at night. Don't we all wish to have Nagok's weird ability? With everything that all of us need to do, not getting tired without sleeping is especially attractive. We can save more time without having to do coffee runs as well. Number 4. Gloria Ramirez. February 19, 1994, Gloria Ramirez was brought by paramedics to the emergency room of Riverside General Hospital. 15 minutes after her arrival, she went into cardiac arrest. A nurse was instructed to draw blood and immediately noticed a foul smell which caused her to pass out. Soon after, other medical staff promptly pass out after inhaling the garlicky smell. They also noticed an oily sheen on her skin. Medical staff who had contact with Ramirez and her remains fell sick one by one, and some were even admitted to the ICU. The media was in uproar and gave Ramirez the moniker of the Toxic Lady. It wasn't until 9 months later that the cause of the hospital staff's illness was discovered. Ramirez self-administered dimethyl sulfoxide, and she used it to treat pain caused by her cancer. A chemical reaction occurred and turned this substance into dimethyl sulfate, an extremely poisonous and carcinogenic substance. Ramirez's idea of treating cancer with a carcinogenic agent was obviously not successful and even caused further harm, not only to herself but also to the people who tried to save her life. Number 3. Carl Tanzler. Carl Tanzler was a man in love. He was so smitten that it didn't matter to him that the object of his passion was already dead. It all started when Tanzler had a vision from his departed aunt about a woman that he was supposed to meet. He grew up and became a doctor and was living in Key West, Florida, where he worked as an X-ray technician in the 30s. There he met a patient named Elena Hoyos, who resembled the woman from his dream. Tanzler became obsessed with Hoyos and desperately tried to cure her while also courting her. Sadly though, in 31, Hoyos died due to complications with tuberculosis. Tanzler personally bought a mausoleum to house her remains. Honestly, that might seem sweet and the family might appreciate it, but unknown to the girl's family, Tanzler did keep a key to the mausoleum. His obsession was so immense that he actually stole Hoyos' deceased body and lived with it for years. Elena's sister became suspicious because of Tanzler's odd behavior, so she asked the authorities for help and found the remains of her sister on Tanzler's property. When Tanzler died in 52, he was later found to have a life-size doll resembling Elena. Number 2. Michael Lotito, a man with an iron stomach. Born on June 15, 1950, Michael Lotito had a unique physique. His intestines and stomach had a thicker than normal lining, as well as a powerful digestive juice that allows him to consume sharp metals and objects without being harmed. In fact, his digestive system was so adapted to eating hardcore and edible food that soft food such as bananas, hard-boiled eggs, and such would make him sick. He was diagnosed with an eating disorder called pica, which gave him an appetite for substances with no nutritional value. He started eating strange materials when he was only 16 and performed publicly as well. His most notable act was eating an entire plane in 2 years. He also ate a dog, bicycle, TV set, shopping carts, and even an entire plane. Wait, what was that about the dog again? Number 1. Akrit Jaswal. Akrit Jaswal is the youngest surgeon in the world. Born on April 23, 1993, Akrit has an IQ of 146 and learned to read and write when he was only 2 years old. And at only 5 years of age, he was already reading medical books. The doctors in his hometown allowed him to watch and learn how to do surgical procedures. And then at the ripe old year of 7 years of age, Akrit performed his first surgery on an 8-year-old fire victim in November of 2000. I say burn victim, but it's not what you think. In 1995, a little girl burned her hand, and due to financial constraints, her family couldn't afford to pay for a surgeon. By November 2000, the little girl still hadn't had her burns treated, leaving her hand clenched for 5 long years. This is when Akrit came in. Akrit performed a successful surgery on the girl's hand to the delight of her parents. Thus, the legend of Akrit began, and YouTube videos of his first surgery are still astounding everyone to this very day. Thanks for sticking with me to the end. Like the video if you do and leave a comment. Also, make sure to check out the channel's other amazing content. As always, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Later, everybody.